This is inside the Kubuswoningen, or the cube houses. Well, this is the museum house where you can come in. Entry is extremely cheap. For seniors it's €3 each, but you have to tell them you're a senior. They can't offer it to you. So this is the first room you come to after coming up several flights of spiral stairs. So if you're not good on your feet, you're going to struggle. But as you can see, there's not a vertical line anywhere. I wonder what it would be like to live in. Curious, I am sure. But I suppose at the end of the day, it's a roof over your head. One of that step, Keith. So you can look down on the street. You've got a stove and oven, and all the obvious bits. So that's the first level you come to. But these are the kind of stairs you've got to work with. This is the uppermost level, laid out as a child's play area, although quite doubtful how you'd have kids in a place like this, or even how you'd actually live in a place like this. But it's got some great views over parts of Rotterdam, but on the other hand, is it a practical space? Well, there are quite a few of these things, and they're all occupied by this one, so people must find a way of living in them. came as a bit of a shock when I came to do the editing for this second QM2 video, that they'd actually produced very little video for the last day. And I said this to Ruth, and she said, well, we were really busy, weren't we? And in actual fact, we were. And in passing, and somewhat off topic, I would say that it was this particular day that, whilst I wouldn't say that the transatlantic on QM2 would is attracting me, something I want to put on my list, I am much more amenable to it, because there's no doubt if you've got a sea day, Cunard know how to fill it with all kinds of different things. So basically, just to run through the day, we woke up and we were still in Rotterdam. We should have sailed at midnight, but the captain came on, and some work they'd wanted to do, some technical work, had overrun. And with Queen Mary's much deeper draft than many cruise ships, which helps to navigate the North Atlantic more stably, she needs the right tide even more than some other ships would. So she'd missed the midnight tide and she couldn't sail until later on. So we didn't actually leave Rotterdam until something like lunchtime. Anyway, that's by the by. So we got up, we went down to the Britannia Club restaurant and had breakfast as usual. But we then had the really fascinating prospect of listening to another one of former prisoner Governor Jeff Hughes' talks. We'd listened to the first one about women's prison when he became governor of a women's prison, and how he'd actually had to work out what on earth he was going to do with it, because there is no, or it certainly was when he was there was no training program for it. You made it up as you went along. But he was also at one point the governor of Belmarsh prison, and Belmarsh is probably the highest security prison in Britain today. It's so high security. There is a high security prison inside the prison with its own perimeter wall. It's that sort of level. And Jeff Hughes is a very interesting character to listen to. He speaks extremely well. If ever you're on a ship and you hear Jeff Hughes, prison governor, go and listen to him, because it was absolutely fascinating listening to him and his experiences with it. And all that kind of thing. It was absolutely fascinating. But after that, immediately afterwards in the Royal Court Theatre, you had the actress Leslie Joseph, who's best known in Britain for playing a role on a comedy, which, to be honest, we never watched. It didn't appeal to us, but it was called Birds of a Feather, and it was extremely successful. But she's actually been in show business for a very long time. She's done a lot of things. She's as old as I am, so into her 70s. And she's still working hard. She's doing panto, she's doing West End, she sings, she dances. Absolutely amazing. She quite clearly still loves her work. So They had some examples of different parts of the career. There were several clips from Birds of a Feather. And overall that was a really good couple of talks. And that was pretty much the morning gone, but you know. So then we went and had some lunch, and we spent a little bit of time wandering around. Then we were back up to the cabin for a bit. I wanted to record the cabin tour because as Paul and Carol and one or two others have said, you're better off doing that when you've been in it for a while. So yeah, I did that, but it was a pain in the bum. I just couldn't get it to work. There was a wind, quite a strong wind blowing, so when I went out onto the balcony, it was extremely difficult to make it audible. And so I tried to use a wireless mic. That didn't appear to be working. It actually was, but there was a problem with my phone that was making me think it wasn't, so I was messing about with that. And in the end I had to do my best without it, but that's, again, all by the by. So that took up some time. We went downstairs, we had a coffee. I'd been hanging my nose over a new jacket I'd seen in the shop, the Cunard jacket. A lightweight, waterproof, windproof, sort of spring to autumn jacket, and it was at a good price. You know, I don't think it was any cheaper than ones we've seen in Derby, and we saw one on Princess that was similar but much shorter. It was what used to be called years ago a bum freezer, whereas this one's got a much better length, so you don't want to wear it and find that you pull over or something's going to get wet because it sticks out underneath it. And then by the time we had a coffee and what have you, it was time for dinner. And then we went back from dinner to the Royal Court Theatre to see Kev Orkian again. He was brilliant. Very different session, still very funny. I've found him on Facebook since. He's actually British Armenian. He hasn't got the Armenian accent that he puts on, and in fact he showed it at one point because he completely lost the plot, started laughing, said something in his normal accent and started laughing again. He said, I've just lost my accent, and then took a deep breath and went on again. But he was extremely funny. But the previous night we'd had this group called Big Men in Town, who did a Frankie Valli tribute and were extremely good. And immediately after Kev Orkian in the Royal Court Theatre, they were going to do a set in the Queen's Room. And they had some of the Princess musicians working with them to provide the backing, because they don't play instruments, it's just four of them singing. So the musicians were on the little stage, the group were on the dance floor, but the rest of the dance floor was just thrown out for general dancing, not ballroom dancing, anything like that, just the general, what my mum would have called, just jiggling about. So that was another really, really good time. And really the day shot past, and the problem with Cunard is you're not supposed to video a lot of stuff, unlike say Morella, who encourage you to, and on Sky Princess, Odyssey encourage you to. So it's a little bit more difficult, but nevertheless that's why I'm sitting here wittering on, trying to explain my shortcomings. Anyway, I hope those little extra bits been useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon on the next one.